Take us snorkeling.
Okay. So I thought since I'm not there to actually see the hand go up, I thought we'd wait and have if there's any questions Zoom at the end. Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, Suzanne and I in 2022 went to Indonesia and did this snorkeling trip. And yeah, I guess I am getting some feedback now.
Oh, you'll just mute it.
Oh, I was going to move the cursor, or is that on his?
That's his. Oh. All right, I'm going to mute us, and then you should be good.
Okay. Okay, does that sound better? It does for me. So anyway, Suzanne and I went on this vacation in 2022 snorkeling in Indonesia, and it was such a fantastic trip that we decided to do it again. So we went again in March, and this trip was it's literally on the other side of the earth. So to give you an idea where it is, it's Raja Ampat is north of Australia and south of the Philippines. It's an archipelago that's located northwest corner of Indonesia's West Papua province. It includes about 1,500 islands, and there's more than 1,500 species of fish and 5 species of endangered turtles, sea turtles, and 600 species of hard corals. And interestingly, 75% of the world's species of hard coral and corals are located in this area. So it's just a real diverse area. So we started out we live in central Idaho, so we drove to Boise, caught a flight from Boise to LA and spent about 2 hours in LA, and then flew from LA to Jakarta, which was 19, almost 20 hours right there. And then from Jakarta to Sorong, which is the little island airport. Let's see where, there it is, that we caught our schooner out of, and that was just out of Sorong. So it's after 26 hours of flying time, we were literally on the other side of the earth. It's the time is like 12 hours difference. So anyway, and traveling on these airlines, I'm rather large, as most people know that know me. So I'm always looking for try to get in the emergency aisle seats. And when you do that, as you know, you usually have to be willing to help if there's an emergency or evacuation of the aircraft or whatever. So the stewardess or the flight attendant came by and asked me if I would be willing to assist in very almost unrecognizable English, and I agreed and said yes. And she said she was going to read the responsibilities. So this is the responsibilities in Indonesian.
Pegang jendela bagian bawah, tarik pegangan jendela dari atas ke bawah, angkat jendela dan buang jendela secara miring. Harap tidak menyentuh bagian apapun dari jendela dari tanpa ada instruksi dari kabin kami. Apabila Anda membutuhkan bantuan, silakan menekan tombol di atas ini. Sebelah sini, terima kasih. Hati-hati, selamat tinggal di penerbangan ini.
To this day, I don't know what I agreed to, but fortunately everything went well. So this is the schooner we were on. It was called the Dancing Wind. It's 147 feet long. It's made out of ironwood and teak. And interestingly, there was supposed to be 12 passengers on this crew or on this boat. And then we had 13 crew and then our guides and the captain. And within a month before we left, the other 8 people that were supposed to go either with COVID or illnesses or injuries or accidents had to cancel. So it ended up, it was just Susanna, myself, and 2 other people that were the passengers on this crew. So we got exceptional service, needless to say. So our naturalist Dalton, he had this program where he would plot where we were going to go each time we snorkeled. We didn't snorkel in the same place twice. We would snorkel two, maybe 3 times a day for 2 to 3 hours at a time. So it was pretty extensive. And we'd overnight at a different location each time and be ready in the morning for a new location. This is Dalton and his daughter and some of the crew. And Dalton is a naturalist and guide, and he's learned everything on his own. and he has had no formal training, but he knew everything about everything. You could ask the most intricate question about a specific species of something, and he'd know it. And then his daughter is a naturalist for a bird sanctuary in Jakarta. And she came along and she wants to learn how to be a naturalist out on the water. So he was working with her. So these were our two guides. So this is Suzanne and I getting ready for our first snorkeling session. We used rash guards and wetsuits and snorkel masks, the usual stuff. So the water there averages about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's pretty nice. And on clear water, the tide, they say, is, clear tides and stuff without rain. And we were there when it wasn't very rainy. Visibility is almost 100 feet underwater. These colors are real colors. I didn't Photoshop these. I didn't do any changes on them. The colors are just amazing on these reefs. And you'll see we come up, there's a crab under the ledge right there, and there's another one to the left at the bottom that's moving there. Got bright orange or bright red eyes. Looks like he's walking around in cotton candy. Some of the fish we saw were rather interesting. This is a clown triggerfish and a blue Lynceus sea star. And the triggerfish was about 20 inches long. He was pretty good size. Christmas tree worms were really kind of cool. They were every color that you can imagine, and they're a type of polychaete worm. So they're about the size of like a silver dollar. And when you get up close to them, if your shadow passes over them or you get near them, they'll immediately just disappear into the coral and pop. And then a few seconds later, a few minutes later, they'll pop back out again. But they're rather interesting to watch. So they're called Christmas tree worms because of their outside shape. Looks like a traditional little Christmas tree design. Here's a few more growing on some corals. There's a small green nudibranch up on the top, hiding. More on the nudibranch shortly. And brain coral, there's a lot of brain coral there. Some were 4 or 5 feet across. They were really huge. The feather duster worms, they're different. They're also a polychaete worm, and they're a little bit bigger than the Christmas tree worms, but they also, when you got too close to them, they zip in. So, I've got a little short video of just going by, and if I just move my fingers near them, I wasn't touching them or anything, but just get near them, they just instantly are gone. And it was kind of cool. You just hang out for 10 or 15 seconds and they'd pop back out again. So if you, it was nice that we would float along and just let the current slowly carry us by. And so you'd see a lot of behavior and a lot of things that you normally might not see if you went through the area too quickly. So our dives were like 2 to 3 hours long. And before we'd make the story, well, I'll show you in a minute. I've got a slide of some of a poster we have. So here's a little blenny on the right. He was about an inch long, and he kept darting back inside this piece of coral until I finally caught him when he came out. My other half. You can see how rough the water was here. So this is our board that our naturalist guide would put up for us every night for the next day. It would be a schedule of what we were going to do and everything. And on this particular day, we were doing a tour of a pearl farm. But usually what we do is we'd get up about 5 o'clock in the morning before dawn, have a coffee and a pastry, and then go out in the two small boats looking, cruising the shorelines looking for birds and wildlife. And then after dawn, we would come back to the boat. And while we were having breakfast, they'd be ready. And then after breakfast, we would go out and we would do a 2 to 3 hour snorkel. Then we would come in, and while we're having lunch, they'd move the boat to a new location. We'd rest for a while, and then we'd go out in the afternoon for another 2 to 3 hours. And then that evening after dinner, we would either do a night snorkel or we would do he would have a presentation for us. So in this image on the bottom right, before we go out snorkeling at an area, he would draw up where we were going, what we were looking for, and which way the current is going and where you would want to go. So they would have, when we were in the water, the four of us, there would be 5 to 7 crew in the water with us, assisting if anybody needed help or, pointing out things to us, where to go, what to see and stuff. So Dalton, each time we had a focus, like one place we were looking for feeding manta rays. Another place we were looking at a cleaning station for wrasse. Another place we swam with black-tip reef sharks. And so one place that was fantastic is he took us to see these nudibranchs, and I've got some pictures of these nudibranchs were just amazing. He also took us to a place where there was some 1,000-year-old rock art, and it was about 30 feet above the water edge, the ocean's, the surface of the ocean. And he said that the cliffs were straight up and straight down. So 1,000 years ago, the water level was much higher, and they would stand on they probably had little wooden boats of some type, and would stand there and do these rock art material, which is way too high now. You could barely see it from the water's edge. We had to get back away from the cliff and look at it with binoculars and take pictures of it. And just to the right of this, there was a rock shelter cave in there that had burials inside that were really old. They still use it today, apparently, the local people, to put burials in there. So we could see, when we went by, we could see them in there. One of the 6 species of turtles, 5 species are there. This is a hawksbill. He's a little guy. He's about the size of a dinner plate. And again, another triggerfish. This is an orange striped triggerfish. This one, this red feather duster, feather star, you could see him 50 feet away. It was so brilliant red. They were just amazing. And they're a living fossil. They're related to the crinoids. And so, let's see, I had a little thing on here about crinoids. Oh, well. Anyway, there was every kind of shape and size and color, texture, feather stars around, and I actually got some video of them moving. They have these little legs or feet called cirri, and they can attach to things. And when they don't want to be in that area, they release their footing, and then they swim with their arms. They'll swim to a new location, and then attach again with their feet to continue living there. So I was able to get a couple. I've got a video of that coming up here shortly. This one, I just happened to be in his way, so I had to get out of his way. But this other one, I got him just after he dislodged from his attachment to the coral there, and looks like a swimming tarantula or something. It's kind of interesting. And winged feather tip to feather tip is about the size of a grapefruit. They're an animal that feeds on phytoplankton and small organisms. He's floating over this opening in the reef right there, and he's going to reattach in just a few seconds here on the other side of the coral. He attaches right there. These lobed plate corals can be quite large, some of them, and they tend to be this purple or red colors. They're just very vibrant. This little guy is called a yellow boxfish. I've got another one of a juvenile that's about an inch long here in just a minute. He's really cute. And they basically look like a box. They're like a shoe box with eyes and fins. There he is. He's about an inch long. And a little fish called a blue devil. I'm not quite sure how he got his name. This was kind of interesting. This is a peacock mantis shrimp and a spiny lobster. And I want to read you something here. It's although it's called a peacock mantis shrimp, they are classified as a crustacean and are just a distant relative to the shrimp. There's two types of hunting behaviors, a smashing and a spearing. The peacock mantis shrimp possesses a set of deadly clubs at the end of the forelimbs and are formidable weapons boasting the fastest strike in the animal kingdom. The victim stands very little chance. For not only are they struck with a club itself, but the speed of the movement is so fast it creates a vapor-filled bubbles in the water known as cavitation bubbles, exerting considerable force on its prey. Smashing mantis shrimp have been known to punch their way through aquarium glass tanks. They're that powerful. It's kind of interesting. Now, the spiny lobster on the right, they have two sets of antennae. The large white ones that you see that's really long, the lobster itself is about 3 inches long, but those antennas are about 12 inches long, and they use them they whip them around for defense and to do battle. And then in the front, they have two little blue antennae, and they use those for feeding and for sensing food and stuff, but very, very colorful. I was out snorkeling, and this huge school of fish just floated by and encompassed me. And after they went kind of floated, or I floated out of them, there were 3 or 4 barracuda hanging out, so I know why they were in such a tight school. I'm not sure what kind of fish these are, but they were about a foot long. This someone else took this picture. I'm on the far left. Susanna's in the middle, and one of the other people on our trip is on the right, and she's pointing at there's a nest of fish eggs and fish inside this sponge. And every time you get up anywhere near it, they'd rush out and try and chase you off. It was really kind of funny to watch, and we kept our distance, so we didn't want to disturb them. There were some birds. This is it looks brighter there than it was. It was just at dawn, this beach kingfisher, and the tern was really cool. The white-bellied sea eagles were amazing to watch. They were pretty good size. Everybody knows the blue heron.
Hey, Alan, your presentation froze on the last underwater picture slide.
Oh, okay. Is it still frozen?
Oh, we're caught up.
Oh, okay. Let me go back.
Yeah, will you go back a couple slides?
Sure.
Tell him to move his cursor.
And if you don't mind, your cursor is in the middle of the screen. If you don't mind sliding that over.
Oh, I can't see it. Is it off now?
No, hasn't moved.
Huh. Let me try it again here.
Don't worry about it.
There, it's gone.
Oh, good. Okay.
It's down on the bottom.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, let me see if, did you see this?
Fishing.
Yep. We can see it. We're good.
Okay. We saw quite a few different species of birds. It was really kind of cool. It was just a very short period of time, for maybe a half hour to an hour before, just as the light was, the sun was coming up, and then that'd be it. They'd all go into hiding.
Sama kayak di apa yang di dom, ada yang di dom itu yang di dom.
So gentle.
So gentle.
Iya, makan ini untuk kecil tapi kalau itu bisa. Kalau dia
Yeah, it was really cool. It's a wild bird that lives in the village up in the tree above the house, and he comes down and visits the people in the house, then he goes back up into his tree. It's pretty cool. And these are nudibranchs. They are really amazing critters. I've got quite a few more to show you as we go on. They're anywhere from a quarter inch to a couple inches long and incredibly colored and detailed. So I think this next one starts a little presentation on them. Yeah, here we go. So they can, they eat anything in their path that's small enough and slow enough. And even if it's venomous, even like another nudibranch, they will eat it and take the toxins from that nudibranch and incorporate it into their system, and then that toxin becomes theirs, and they exude it through their skin. These are all nudibranchs. Some of these photos that are a little grainier was because there was very little light in some of the places. There was a big cliff overhang, so we didn't get a lot of extenuating light. So those feathery appendages are their gills, where they get oxygen out of the water. There's a mating pair. They look like two sandals. Almost all of these nudibranchs we saw in one location he took us to in about a 3-hour period of time. I had to show you a few more. They were even, oops, let me try that again. Looks like it's frozen up. Is it frozen for you? let's see. There we go. Sorry about that. These sponges were very prolific in every color of the rainbow. The tunicates or sea squirts were quite varied too, with every color you can imagine. These blue tunicates look like little animals with eyes and big mouths. And again, they're quite small. This blue spotted stingray, they're quite evasive. My wife spotted him. She was about 10 feet away, and she spooked him, and he came tearing towards me. So I got the camera ready, and as he came by, I was able to get a picture of him. He was really, really fast. So, but I was able to get him so that you could see the blue spots on him, which was pretty cool. More sponges. This is a squat shrimp. I don't know if you can see him, how well he blends in, but his tail, pointy tail, is facing back towards us, and his head with his antennae are facing the wall, and then you can see his little legs. He's kind of a brown with pinkish oval shaped spots on him. Giant moray eel, he was about 5 feet long, toothy little guy. The anemone fish were quite prolific. There were lots of different species, and some were false anemone fish. They were mimic. But the interesting thing, the first time we were in Indonesia, I was watching these anemone fish swirling around in the anemones. You know how they do that. They you'll see this in a video in a minute where they kind of swirl around in it. I watched them for a little while, and they'd come out and look at me and go back and come out and look at me. So I was about 4 feet away. So I held my hand out at arm's length, and I started wiggling my fingers like the anemone. And the anemone fish came right up and rolled around in my hand like it was the anemone for probably 5-8 seconds, and then went back down. It was pretty cool. This was a nurse shark that was in a little cave. We saw it, and so I reached in arm's length with my camera with a flash and took a picture. And I noticed at the head end where the head of the fish is, there's some light there, and I thought there was another opening that the fish could go out. So I thought I'd swim around to the other side about 10 feet away, a circuitous route, to see if I could get a picture of his head. So just as I swam around to the other end, this swam out of where the head of the fish was. He didn't stick around for long, but boy, he sure was colorful. This was kind of interesting. The stonefish are one of the most venomous creatures in the world, and there's lots of varieties there, and they're in very shallow water, 2 to 3 feet. So when you're floating on the surface of the water, there's only 1 to 2 feet of between you of water before you're in the sand. So I've been taking pictures of nudibranchs, and I thought this was that blue spot up on the top. I thought it was a nudibranch. Well, it was a piece of blue rope covered with sand. And I have a prescription mask, but it's a few years out of date, so the close-up stuff wasn't quite as sharp as it should have been. So I mistook it for a nudibranch. So to get a close-up of it, still thinking it was a nudibranch, I put my hand right down next to it, and that's open space right in the center. So yeah, as it says there, I don't know if you read that, but they're quite often it can be fatal if you don't get treated immediately, which would have probably been fatal because there's nothing out there. So, but here's what I thought was the nudibranch, the arrow pointing there. Right here is a stonefish. And so I had my hand right in between those two arrows. And when I put my hand down, this is what popped up. So you can see his two eyes between the fins, the dark spots. And if you look over on where the blue arrow is, you can see the two dark spots where his eyes are. So located on the left photo. So anyway, once he popped all his fins out, he was less than an inch away from my hand. And so I had a really close call with him. It's a good thing they're not aggressive. But these are some more stonefish. We saw all of these within, probably 50 feet. They were all different all over the place. It was a little unnerving. You really had to watch what you were doing. So these are banded archerfish, and this is in a area where it's like a mangrove, and you can see the tree roots and stuff down behind them. These archerfish have a unique ability in that they can shoot a stream of water up out of the over the surface and hit an insect on a branch and knock it into the water. I've got a little video of it here. I didn't take this video, but I thought it was pretty cool to watch. So here he comes up. He shoots a stream of water and hits an insect, knocks it into the water, and that's history for the insect. So I thought that was pretty cool. But if you've ever looked through water from the surface, you know that it bends. The light gets bent, so you really have to. If you're going to be shooting streams of water, you got to know how much of a degree of bend there is in the light. Lots of species of butterfly fish. This was amazing. This is the cuttlefish. They're usually in deeper water, but there were two of them there, and I think it was a pair, and they kind of separated up. There was a little dock there that we were near, so we were very close to shore. And they're good size. These weigh about 20 pounds. And this particular one, the head's on the right, where you can see the little the quarter moon slit. That's its eye, and then it's got the appendages up in the front where the head is there. These guys change colors just like an octopus does, or cuttlefish. All these different things that can do this. And amazingly, at one point he's backing up and he turns blue. So I've got a little short video of him doing this. You can watch him change colors, and then in a few seconds on the side facing you, he's going to turn blue. There he goes. He's starting to there he goes blue. I just kind of followed him back into a mangrove there. This octopus was amazing. It had, you see in the center that reddish brown color, that's the color his whole body was. And within 3 or 4 seconds, he changed to a dark white and then dark again. And he grew all these white spines that poked out of his skin. It was just amazing, the camouflage. And I don't know if he was trying to mimic that coral below him or what. But then I discovered there was another octopus just below him in a little opening. So they weren't there very long. I only was able to get a few stills from them, but octopus are always amazing. Giant clams. We had some really beautiful giant clams there. Every color of the rainbow again, and patterns, just really intricate patterns. And as I would float over them and my shadow would touch them, they would flinch. There's one with a siphon in the center. You can see it moving. This one right here is probably 12 inches wide. It's a little guy. Soft broccoli coral, I don't know why it's not green, but it's red. And again, you could see this from many, many feet away. It was just vibrant colored. This was kind of cool. It was called a corkscrew wire coral, and it was probably 8 or 9 feet long. And it changed different colors, but it was just this corkscrew type looking thing. It was really, and it just floats in the current. Coming up right in the center lower part there is the nudibranch. You can see his little horns sticking up on either side of the tunicate. Black-tipped reef sharks. There was a place it's called Shark Beach, and they took us there. It was kind of cool. They were about 3 to 4 feet long, and swimming in schools. They were really fast swimmers, and I know they were feeding at one point because as one went by me, a fish swam by and he snapped it up real fast. It was too fast for me to get a picture of it, but they're very streamlined. And we didn't touch them intentionally, but they would touch us, rub up against us occasionally, and their skin is very rough, coarse. It's almost like a sandpaper. There's this one that's coming from the left and heading straight for me, and he brushes right up against my arm. It's this one right here. But you see those other fish there, the kind of oval-shaped ones. I saw him grab one of those. This banded pipefish was kind of cool. He's got the head of a little seahorse, and he's got almost like an eel body, and he's got a little tiny tail at the end. It's only about 5 inches long. Another tunicate. And this coral was just vibrant, brilliant green. It looked like it was lit up internally. And this is a reef manta ray. We the trip before we saw the other type of manta ray. There's a reef manta ray and an oceanic manta ray. And this is the reef. He's got about a 15-foot wing, 12 to 15-foot wingspan. The big one like we saw last trip was had about a 20, 25-foot wingspan, and it was like a small airplane going by. It was just huge. So it was pretty exciting. But our guide took us out to this place. I was out in the middle of nowhere. You couldn't see any islands. You couldn't see anything anywhere, but it got a little bit shallower. And the water was milky and cloudy because it was just loaded with um, jellyfish and plankton and diatoms, everything you can imagine. It was like a soup, and that's what they were out there for. They had they were feeding and on these things, and so it was a good thing we had rash guards and stuff on because any exposed skin, we were getting stung on our lips and stuff and cheeks from the jellyfish in the water. You'll hear Susanna when the one finally shows up. She'll yell "Yahoo!" There was so much animal life in the water that the camera kept focusing on all the debris in the water rather than the actual manta. Finally got to see a few seahorses. They were in just a few feet of water, and they were right next to where all the stonefish were, so I didn't spend a lot of time lingering there. I was just a little nervous. One area he took us to was just loaded with jellyfish. They were all different species, and they were really different looking. This one moon jellyfish is flashing colors or light. You can see them right here. This is what they call an upside down jellyfish. This one looks like a UFO. That's a general picture just to show you how shallow it is. Most of the places we were snorkeling was about like this or a little deeper. Lionfish are native to this area, but they're invasive in many other places. This is called the clear-tail lionfish, but they're found in oceans all over the world now, and they can expand their stomach up to 30 times the normal size. And when they move into a new area, they can wipe out 80 to 90% of the other fish in that area within just 5 weeks. They're incredibly aggressive and quite venomous with those spines. These little guys are really amazing. They're called razorfish, and they all hang out in a school upside down, pointing down. They got a long, slender nose and body, but the only thing that moves is the eyes. If you look at them carefully, when they're moving, they float through the water column, all evenly spaced apart, so they're like one organism. But just the eyes are moving. It's pretty funny to watch. I saw them several different times, but I never did see them feeding. This is a wobegon shark. I don't know if you can see him there. His camouflage is rather excellent. So there he is. His head is facing us. Camouflages everything in the ocean. We did some night dives and saw them at night. This little guy came out to see me. I was trying to get a close up of some coral, and he popped out. And that's it. These are some of the kids in the one of the villages we went to. Okay, if you have any questions, I can answer some questions now.
Thanks, Alan. Those were fantastic shots.
Yeah, amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, what kind of camera were you using?
It's a the underwater. What's that? What? Okay, it's an underwater. The underwater camera is an Olympus TG6. It's just a little point and shoot type camera.
That's what you shot the videos with also?
Yes, And then for the birds, when we go out looking in the jungles and stuff, I was using a Panasonic Lumix DC20Z S80. It's got a Leica lens in it.
And how is coral bleaching affecting this area?
You know, it's amazing. We didn't see any damage to the coral other than wherever there was damage from like a hurricane or something. And our guide was showing us where the area was damaged. He took us to one area. He showed us where it was regenerating itself very quickly after the damage, because we'd seen horrible damage to coral in Fiji, U.S. Virgin Islands, Hawaii. You know, some places, the worst place we saw was Fiji. Like 60% of the coral looked like just gray concrete, all broken and crumbling. It was just horrible. And one of the things they say here is it's so diverse, and also the surrounding area is about 1 to 1.5 degrees warmer, the water. So it has not been affected yet like other places in the ocean because it's already somewhat tolerant to warmer waters.
These kids on a loop, or they keep on jumping?
Yeah, they're on a loop.
So completely off topic of nature, on your flight over to Indonesia, did you like have those little sleeping pod things going on? I mean, you didn't sleep in an emergency room seating, did you, for 20 hours?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, the flight over the airfare was about $2,000 per person, and I checked to go to a first class, which would be, or a business class, which would be more of a reclining thing and more space, was about $3,000 more.
I'll keep flying coach the rest of my life.
Yeah, no kidding.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
Well, you're welcome. Sorry we didn't have more people turn out, but I know there's a lot going on.
Hi, Suzanne, for us.
Yes.
Okay, she's right now. She's right over in Kathmandu and Nepal.
Doing her Buddhist thing. Good for her.
Yeah, doing her Buddhist thing. She's going to be there for 3 months.
Oh.
Party.
So the party's at my house.
Okay. Okay, you can tell the kids to settle down.
Okay.
Thanks,
There we go.
Alan.
Thank you. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye, Alan. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
That was fun.
Yeah, well done.
I love Biodiversity.
Yeah.
Not having quite a fast enough connection.
Yeah, but still, it's pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
You can go catch your cello concert.
I think it's probably close to done. There's been so much stuff going on. I just came out of part of a community foundation course, late.
So